Can I give a quick shout out real quick?
Please.
Let's go Yankees. Chase for 28.
True. Not that odd. That's like room temp take, but that's all right.
Where's Shohei gonna go?
Obviously, I'm no GM or no Major League Baseball owner, but if I were,
As always, go M's.
I can pronounce it however I want until he tells me personally when he comes and joins the pod as a friend of the pod.
welcome everyone. First off, I gotta say, if you're not watching us on YouTube or looking at some of these clips, you're missing out because this is the first time we've all been wearing something of the teams that we support today. So if you're on the tube, if you're watching, I'm repping my Nolan Arenado red jersey. Casey's got his City Connect gear on, the hoodie and the hat. Pete's got his Yankees hat and the Yankees tee on. Come on. We all love our teams, but this is the Broken Bat podcast, and we talk about every team, but we got to represent our team as well. So that's just another reason for you to come check us out on the pod. Pretty much just to come check out my sweet jersey. That's the Yankees and Mariners stuff is whatever, but it's all right. Pete, if they want to see us, if they want to find more information or tweets or whatever, where can they find us?
Absolutely. So we're currently on Instagram and Twitter at the Broken Bat Podcast. No space. Sorry, the Broken Bat Pod. No spaces. I got distracted by that City Connect gear. It's just so beautiful. Broken Bat Pod. No spaces. You can also find us on YouTube. Like J-Rob mentioned, you search the Broken Bat Podcast. We will come up. Love to get some interaction, some feedback. We put polls on there, some hot takes. If there's Mariner or if there's Cardinals slander, who's running it that day. If there's Cardinals love, who's running it that day. We let our fandom show. So, it's cool. It's exciting. But we'd appreciate you give us a follow on anything you see us on, anything you listen to us on. That's great, and we love to see it. Casey, let them know what we're talking about today.
We have the Aaron Judge versus the Blue Jays, as some of you may have saw. He was looking over in the dugout, and some people didn't like that. Some people accused him of cheating. We'll dive into it a little more. Talk about the pitch clock, if that's good or bad for our game, what our thoughts are on it, and the new rules just in general, the stolen bases, the bigger bases, the disengagement to the play. So we had a lot to talk about today. So, yeah.
What, Pete?
Let's jump into this.
I think, I ask you, Aaron Judge, because he's a Yankee, obviously. Do you want to start this, or do you have questions you want us to answer?
That's why I had to go full out on the
Yankees here today.
Yankees
show full
Usually
support.
I'm running or something, but my boy, my captain, my captain, just been shitting all over some bitch ass Blue Jays who should just stay up in Canada and whine and complain. But yeah, I might just go on a 45-minute rant if I go first. So maybe you guys want to start, and then we'll see.
Casey, do you want me to?
Your thoughts, your feelings.
I want to make a quick shout out.
Okay.
Shout out the Tropicana, not the Trop or the juice box, as someone's preferred to it, but the Tropicana in Las Vegas. They're gonna let us take their spot for the A's. Pete's excited. J-Rob's not so excited. I'm stoked to see the Mariners in Vegas. A landmark getting demolished in Vegas for a new landmark. But as far as the Aaron Judge,
still not official, by the way, in case anyone's curious. That's not.
No, it's official.
It's looking more likely. It's not official, but hopefully, because that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I'll start off just with the Aaron Judge thing, because I want to, before Pete goes on his tangent, I want to make sure that I get my 2 cents in. I don't think he was cheating, because listen, you're in a stadium, you have people yelling at you. And he said people were chirping in his dugout. He didn't really like you. Want to see who it was. That's captain mentality. That's what captains do, right? So I think he's just trying to keep his troops in line, keep his ducks in one pond. Try to make sure no one gets out there, stirs the pot, because there's some beef up there in Toronto. We've seen it happen before. Not necessarily with the Yankees, but when Ruffin Odor took exception to Jose Bautista's slide later in that playoff series, or I think it was the year prior when he hit that home run. Fans went crazy. You never know. I've never been to Toronto. I've never even been to Canada, so I can't say how fans are up there. I can't imagine they're too nice. Might be too little rowdy. But I think people are blowing this out of proportion. I saw one on Twitter today where it's like he's wearing a buzzer, all this stuff. Yeah, I'm like, bro, come on. He's literally looking. It's like this. It's looking like this way. Here, in like a matter of like a second. And I think the Blue Jays broadcast blew it out of proportion because they want. I mean, it's Aaron Judge. The spotlight's on New York and him. Like he is the guy. He's like the new Derek Jeter. Like the spotlight is always on him, no matter what. So I think it's just unfortunate that he looked over. I think he was doing the right thing, seeing who his troops are, chirping a little bit. You know, he doesn't want. It's the Blue Jays. Come on, they're almost irrelevant at this point to me. So I think it's clean. I think he's just looking over. I mean, the dude's human. Is he not allowed to look right for a few seconds? Like,
I think I'll start with this, and I'm going to go in more detail. Do I think what Aaron Judge did is wrong? No. That I'm starting with that. I think it's fair for what happened, for what I understand has happened at this point. However, going into more detail, I do think they were stealing signs, which, if you're doing it the right way, or like if the pitcher's tipping pitches, which the pitcher literally just came out and said that he was tipping pitches, obviously Aaron Judge wasn't picking up on it. And so from what I think was happening is he was looking to the dugout to see like what they were picking up on, what the signs were. He was seeing, getting the sign, and then ready for the pitch or whatever. That's part of baseball, and that's fine. If the pitcher's giving away what pitch he's going to throw, that's on the pitcher. If it goes to the extent, if more comes out, because I also saw something that the Blue Jays are like taking this case up all the way to the MLB like head office and want them to look into it and all that stuff, which may be excessive. I guess we'll find out when that report comes out, if any at all. But obviously, if it goes to the extreme of the Astros of like banging a trash can, which I would really hope they're not specifically banging a trash can, because I feel like anyone hears a trash can bang in baseball, they're going to think of instantly cheating. So there's no way it could be that. But if something more obviously, like they're using technology to cheat, like, I don't know, different things like that, not okay. But like a buzzer, anything like that, there's no, he's not using that because he's literally looking to the dugout. So pitcher tipping pitches, like, and then them just taking advantage of that. I don't think that's wrong if they're just paying attention to that, and then he's just getting that sign from the dugout. So, and you can tell he's not looking down, which it doesn't matter because you can't see the pitches there because they're using PitchCom. So, literally, I don't know. Pete, your thoughts?
before
like
Pete, Jared brought up trash can and it made me giggle. I saw a thing on Twitter. These couple
buckle
Astro
in. We got a long
fans
episode coming.
Yeah,
we gotta
bring up the
got a
Astros
couple.
in case he's going.
No, it's not. It's actually I laughed at this. I thought it was pretty funny. A couple of Astro fans were, I think it might have been Disneyland. I don't know what exactly. They're at some amusement park, and people were banging on trash cans, and one Astro fan, because they're wearing their Astros jerseys, he's like, "It's a fastball."
I heard, or I saw that.
I laughed pretty good at that. Anyway, sorry, Pete. I had to share that.
I appreciate that. That was good bit. I would like to start off my statement with a very measured, very reasonable fuck the Blue Jays. Let me tell you what. These bitches are getting on my nerves more and more. The past 3-4 years, they act like they're hot shit. They got their stupid ass little jacket when they hit home runs, even if they're down like 10, getting their ass whooped. They put on their stupid ass little jacket. They talk so much shit, have so much swagger. The only person I respect, Vlad Jr., and that's mostly because I loved his dad, and he's also a beast. Everybody else, fucking bitches, bro. Overrated, not producing, not living up to the hype. They just are a bunch of whiny assholes. But I would like to agree with J-Rob. Stealing signs, pitch tipping, that's been part of baseball since literally the game was invented. It's like, that's just what you do when you get a, advantage of a pitcher tipping. And like J-Rob mentioned, their pitcher, Jay Jackson, he did admit that even the Toronto Blue Jays video staff came up and was like, yeah, you were tipping pitches, and showed him the video to like try to bury it next time. So it's like both teams noticed it. So there's nothing wrong with the Yankees taking advantage of that. And guess what? They got mad because they think he's looking at the first base coach. That's why you have coaches on the field, to help the players, like to give them signs to tell him what's happening, to tell him how quick the move is to first base, tell him when to run to when you're trying to steal. Like that's literally what coaches are on the field to do. So absolutely no issues. When you get to buzzers and those kinds of things, because you have a weird tattoo and you can't rip off your shirt to celebrate, fuck Jose Altuve forever. Bitch ass stolen MVP and a championship from the captain. But it's also like you throw 6 straight sliders to Aaron Judge. What the fuck do you expect to happen? Like the man hit 62 home runs. And it wasn't even a good slider. Like he hung the 6th slider. Even if you weren't tipping pitches, I tell you, it might have not gone 460. It probably would have gone 415 or more. Like he's just a beast, and he crushed the shit out of that ball. I love today. He fucking hit another one dead center, 448, broke their stupid ass sign. But yeah, the Blue Jays are just pissing me off lately. And the game on Tuesday after Monday, when the big issue happened, they were yelling at the Yankees coaches to get back in the third base box and shit like that. And then literally the next half inning, their coaches weren't in the third base box because nobody like really is concerned about that rules. But the Blue Jays are just being whiny and bitchy, and it's like I just want them to shut up and produce at this point, honestly. Like, and I'm not saying they're a bad team because they're not. They're good. They're going to make the playoffs. But like, just the level of talk and complaint they have to go do it. Like, if you're going to bitch and whine at the Yankees coaches for not being in the like specific little line that's drawn where you're technically supposed to stand as a coach, then you can't go out the next top of the half inning. And I'm not a huge Aaron Boone fan as a manager, but I love that he was yelling right back at their coach, like, "Hey, get in the fucking box!" Like,
Yeah.
Shut out. My boys are savages, but savages in the box. That's another good Aaron Boone moment. But you just can't they just whine and complain about shit. It's like they literally told their pitcher after the game too, you were tipping pitches. Like what the fuck are you complaining about then if you're tipping pitches? But that's a part of the game. That reminds me of a cool thing, a video last year. I forgot who did it, but on Twitter about Josh Donaldson noticed in an at bat. I didn't even remember what team it was, but it was a really cool video that a pitcher was tipping, like he got out on a slider, but he noticed something with the slider. So like they did a whole go in the like in-depth video thing on it. It was on Twitter that I saw. I'll have to look it up and send it to you guys if you haven't seen it. But where he went and like told, I think Stanton was after him, like, "Hey, watch out for this." And then Stanton literally shit all over a ball in his at bat. And the next like 6 batters, like we scored like 3 or 4 runs because he noticed that a pitcher was tipping his pitches. And it's like that's literally part of the game. That's what you're supposed to do as a hitter. And to your team, like, "Oh, hey, I noticed this." And you pass it along to the team, the coaches pass it along. Like that's literally a part of baseball. And if you can figure it out, good for you. That's why pitchers, hide and do all that. Yeah. And then the Blue Jays today, another thing they did was they were like, fake because they were using PitchCom and maybe they were actually going off the side and faking PitchCom, but they're like to be even more like, "Oh, look at us." They had their catcher actually giving signs and then hitting PitchCom, and it's like, dude, you guys are making this such a big fucking deal when you literally told your pitcher he was tipping pitches. It's like, so it's not like and even because Tatis, I think it was Tatis last year that got in. Bauer got mad at him, maybe 2 years ago. Bauer got mad at him because they said he like looked to peak where the catcher was. It's like that's literally part of the game. You try to get the advantage by yourself, obviously, and with your teammates, not with equipment, which is a big fucking difference. But I'm very frustrated by the Blue Jays. I want them to shut up and just play baseball more than whine and complain, which I just feel like they're doing way too much of. They're quickly moving up into my top 3 least favorite
teams you hate.
So
yeah, there's
exactly.
What was he gonna freaking say with that? I have no idea.
There's a lot. I'm winded right now, if I'm being honest.
I don't know.
Wow, Pete, you're very fired up by this topic.
I don't know. I think one thing is like, oh man, I don't know. I wish I knew where I was going to go because I had a good thought that I was going to go with, but maybe batter's box. I don't know. I was do what?
Was it fuck the Blue Jays? Was that your thought?
It wasn't that. I mean, may have thought it, but like that's not what I was going to say. But I don't know. With the batters,
I like the Blue Jays.
With the batter's box and all that stuff, it is literally no one follows that whatsoever. Especially like when there's runners on. Like maybe if there's a runner on second, they'll stay closer to third base so that they can kind of like see, or that runner can just look over and kind of look at that base coach or whatever pretty easily. But especially rounding bases or anything or whatever, they're literally like at least halfway up the line, like waving them home and different things like that. Or like even when the ball's not in play, they're like usually further up. They're never like literally 10% of the time I think they're in the coach's box. So that's just like I think
Yeah,
petty
if that.
for like petty from the day before and everything. Like, so I don't know. That's dumb. But yeah, the Blue Jays. I mean, for Blue Jays fans as well. Like, I don't know. I was trying to think what they would say in their banter. It'd be like, oh, well, we're higher in the division than you are. So you're literally at one game ahead. So yes, you are ahead, but
They have
not
one
by
less win
much.
and one less loss.
Yeah, so it's not like you're that much better or whatever right now. We'll see at the end of the year, and yeah, Yankees just have a better track record. So we'll see. I'm interested to see as the season goes on, or do you know how many more games you have against them?
I don't. I know we finished the series. I believe it's a 3-game series. So we've already won the series, beat them both times in Toronto.
Yeah.
So I think this is our second series versus them, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'd be curious to see just how the rest of the year goes. Like if they play each other anymore, and then how that goes. Was the first series in New York?
I believe so. I can check and see what the actual
But I don't
goals
know.
are.
Yeah, it
It's
will.
like they're just being petty, and like literally nobody gives a shit where coaches
Yeah.
stand on the field. Yeah. And then to bring that up, it's like just like beat the Yankees.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and bitch and whine and complain and like
Go
try
out
to
there
get
and win.
their third base coach thrown out for
Yeah.
doing what literally every third base coach in baseball does. Like,
Yeah.
just go out there and perform. Like we faced our two best pitchers to start the series, and we had an opener, like a bullpen game, and then we had I can't even remember throwing today, who got thrown out in the third inning.
Oh yeah.
So
Saw that.
basically, two bullpen games, and we kicked your ass. Like, I just
Yeah.
want him to stop complaining and being petty and whining and like just produce, just freaking play baseball and shut up. Like,
Yeah.
they're pissing me off.
I do. So I remember what I was gonna say is literally you see all the time when like say a runner is on and they come around and score and they're going back to the dugout. So many times, not every time, obviously, but they'll go and they talk to they'll say something to the person walking up to hit right then, or the guy on deck or whatever, and that could be, oh, this is what they're like, this is the movement on this pitch, or if he's tipping pitches, like this is what he does right before he throws this pitch, or like you see that communication so much, even if someone like strikes out or whatever. Like, I mean, I watch a lot of baseball for pretty much every team here. Like occasionally I'll see every team every so often or whatever, but I watch obviously the Cardinals the most. But I see Nolan Arenado, I see Paul Goldschmidt. I mean, all these players, when they're walking back to the dugout, if they strike out or if they just scored, they're talking to the other players that are about to go bat because they're about to face that same pitcher. And then, but what do they say or whatever? It's like, oh, I like this pitcher. Like, I mean, they're not going to say dumb things or whatever. They're literally talking baseball on things they notice, what pitches look like, if they're tipping pitches, all those different things. So, again, it goes back to the point that, like, tipping pitches and figuring out what the pitcher's going to throw, that's really part of baseball. People are looking for those things all the time to try to get the advantage. And if that's all you're doing to get the advantage, that's fine. It just, yeah, when you bring in, like, different things to try to give yourself the advantage or whatever, that's where it's not okay or whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, I think it's ridiculous.
It's dumb. And like you literally go and review film too. Like they go back in the dugout, and review film for their at bats to see what they did, see what pitchers did. Like if you're supposed to be doing that, like what do they want? And then you just go not talk to like you go sit in the dugout. You're not allowed to talk to your team about the game. Like I mean, ask them how their family doing. You know what their plans are for winter. Like you just can't talk to them about what happened in the game, what you're at bat. Like that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Also, just to answer your question, this is their second. It's also a 4-game series. That's what I thought, but then I read. Okay, but so it's a 4-game series right now in Toronto. They played one 3-game series so far as in New York. The Blue Jays won 2 of 3 for that one, so they're 3-3 currently on the year versus the Blue Jays.
Okay. And do you know for the rest of the year what that matchup will look like?
They play every team 12 times now, right?
I honestly do
Is that
not
what it
know.
is? It's either 12 or 13, but let me check that.
Because let's see.
But yeah, so after this will be 7. So they've played the. But yeah, I love that Aaron Judge just came up and again today. Like the fans were getting on him up in Toronto. They were like booing him when he came up and like giving him shit. And he doesn't say much. He's not a big talker
Yeah.
and all that, but like he usually lets his play doing the talking. But he smoked one today. Held the bat a little bit. Like he doesn't do like huge bat. I wish he'd bat flip out. I lost one. And like Arena when he comes in third and literally just sits there and waits.
Yeah.
Because like or even first, because that's who they got mad at yesterday. People would have just sat and like celebrated with the first base coach. I'd love that even more. But definitely held the bat a little bit longer than he did when he's walking down. Admired it a little bit. Just like, yeah, fuck you guys. Like I've clearly shown who I am as a baseball player. Like don't try to question me. So I love that statement from him.
I don't know. Yeah, I like that as well. Like anytime there's any heat or whatever or any beef, like, and then someone hits a home run and then just kind of admires it a little bit longer or bat flips or whatever, I love that. Or like the pitcher ever. I don't think he was intentionally doing this, but there was like in the Cardinals, I think it was Cardinals Cubs, there was one out with like bases loaded or something, and there was a pop fly to left field, and then we caught it, and then the runner tried to tag, and we threw him out at home. And the pitcher is a relief pitcher. Who freaking was it? I think it was Genesis Cabrera. He was backing up the catcher or whatever, and then but they caught it and tagged him out, and then Cabrera was right behind home plate, right next to where the player like finished his slide or whatever. And anytime he strikes someone out, he like kind of flexes or whatever. So he kind of did the same thing, like flexed or whatever. And then the guy was right there, so he just kind of looks up at him, like he was flexing on him. But I was like, hopefully that doesn't start anything because I don't think that was his intention. But if it was, I'd be like, again, I love things like that, especially if it's Cardinals Cubs, like rivalry. You guys aren't necessarily, the Blue Jays aren't your biggest rival, obviously, because you have the Red Sox, but it's a division rival, so it's still a big game. Like, so I don't know. I just love, not that I want fights or to see anyone get hurt or like ejected or whatever, but just that competition and like intensity. That's one thing I love about baseball so much.
I did the research that you play every team in your division 13 times now rather than 19. So after this, they'll have one more series in Toronto, one more in New York, 6 more games. But like you mentioned, I definitely think there's going to be some benches clearing in the next game or two just because of how fired up and how much it has been. So it's definitely going to be some inside pitches. Some,
Yeah.
like I'm pretty sure Cole throws one of these next 2 games. And Garrett Cole doesn't mess around with that shit. He's going to come inside. He's probably going to hit Springer or Bichette or somebody nice and early. There's going to be warnings. There's going to be, but like you said, I mean, I like that competition. I like the fiery competitiveness. I just don't like when it's like you're just trying to be. I mean, I think it technically is a rule like standing in the third base box, but not one that anybody gives a shit about. So it's like when you're doing it over those stupid ass little petty things.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like the things that actually matter, that you should be that fired up and competitive, and it's just dumb shit like that is just so pointless to me.
No, I agree. Yeah, if it's over things that are stupid, like stand or make sure you're staying in the coach's box, I think that's petty. I think that's dumb. Over like anything like that, I think is stupid and should not be. Like, that's not it. But yeah, if you're gonna play the game the right way, or you're gonna throw inside, and then the batter stares you down, the pitcher stares you down, type things like that, like, boom, bring that intensity type thing. Like, that's what I like. But I don't know. Again, don't want anyone getting hurt. That's not what I want. Don't want like ejections or anything because you want to see people play the game, teams at their best, whatever. But I don't know. What have you guys noticed with? Well, I was about to move on, unless you guys have anything else to add.
I have one thing to say.
Okay.
I personally don't have an issue. Or no, I personally do have an issue with coaches moving around on their not designated boxes. I think coaches should stay in them all the time.
Your face tells me that's a lie.
No, it's the worst part of the game to me.
Okay, we're moving on.
Boo yourself. Can you play the boo sound effect? Because that was just a waste of everyone's. Thank you.
So for pitch clock, like new rules, things like that, is there been anything you guys have noticed or that stood out to you after being? I mean, we're a quarter of the way through the season. It was a big topic at the beginning of the year, especially with stolen bases and things like that, and just the rate that like the league was on, like with how many stolen bases. And I just kind of wanted to follow up with that, or kind of see if there's things you guys have noticed or where we think we are with that, if we still like it. Because I feel like when we first talked about this at the beginning of the year, for the most part, we all were in favor for pretty much all the new rules. So is there anything that you guys have noticed or that stood out or that you guys are paying attention to?
I mean, we talked about this earlier in episodes, but like the pace of the game, like Pete's brought up multiple times, where it's like if you like check your phone or whatnot, you could miss like a whole inning and a half, like how fast the game moves. So, but I also like it. I went to a AAA game a couple weeks ago, and it was flying through. Like we got there right at the first pitch, and then I go and get a hot dog, and next thing I know, it's like the third inning. So, like, I don't know. I think it just moves really quick, and I like it personally. But also, like, there comes a point where, like, as a fan, where it's like an hour and a half, and you're already in the seventh inning. You're like, bro, like, this is not. I want more baseball, not less baseball. But I think for like consuming the sport, for like all of us who watch games quite often, maybe not every game, but like whenever I get a chance, I'm watching baseball. So like it's nice that like my whole day isn't like blocked off for 4 hours to watch baseball. It's like 2 hours I can put on in the background as I'm doing something, and it's like I don't know. It just I like the pace of it, but also like as a fan at a game, I hope that like it's not an hour 50 minutes, because it wasn't like a Marlins game. It was like an hour 55 or something like that. Like that'd be too short. Like I'm paying good money for that, especially like if you pay like thousands of dollars for like tickets behind home plate at like Yankee Stadium or something like that, and you go for an hour and a half, like that kind of sucks. But also it kind of gives you incentive to like go there earlier to like watch batting practice and like watch players warm up and stuff. So like you kind of take it all in. I don't know. That's my thought on it.
That is interesting because like you mentioned, I talked about it first at the beginning. I was like, oh, this is so fast. Now I've gotten a lot more accustomed to it at home watching, where it's kind of like, I mean, I still enjoy the pace and I enjoyed it at the beginning. It just kind of like an adjustment, but I'm used to it and I definitely enjoy that. It's not, 5 hours sometimes, and I'm like, okay, this is insane, especially with all the pitching changes and everything. It still moves quick, even with multiple pitchers. Like I said, the past couple games have basically been bullpen games for the Yankees. Still move very quick. Got through it nice, but I haven't been to a game yet, so that'll definitely be interesting to see because yeah, you get there. I don't know about you guys, but get you a nice hot dog, some nachos early on. A little bit later, go get yourself, your ice cream helmet. Sixth, seventh inning, go get yourself another snack. Maybe a dog to end the night. Whatever you're feeling. But so that'd be interesting because yeah, if you don't have time to do that, so that will be interesting the first time I get to go in person to a game where it's kind of like you don't get to sit and enjoy the environment and experience as much. So I haven't thought about that because I haven't experienced that yet, but I definitely enjoy it. I think one thing that has stood out to me is honestly, it's made games more exciting for me. Like I think it was Vlad yesterday had two pickoff attempts towards him. And then there's just that excitement of like, oh, he's probably going now. And like you just Are they going to get him? Are they going to risk it? Are they going to throw? And I can't even mattering, but I like that. Like, there's 2 pickups. Some action's about to happen. Volpe been stealing all sorts of bags, creating runs. The Yankees have manufactured, I feel like, and I have no stats to back this up at all, but I feel like they've manufactured more runs this year than they have since like the early 2000s. Like, I honestly feel like it's changed where there is more small ball, more like, okay, let's go manufacture a run rather than just, oh, we're only trying to hit bombs. And not having the shift, I've also liked a lot. You see a lot more, I feel like, athletic, cool plays by middle infielders, and a lot more highlights of like, oh, the shortstop's ranging to the left rather than like they were already just standing where the ball was hit. So I have been, I think it's brought a lot more excitement. I think it's been very successful so far. Yeah, the downside is you get less. Technically, it's not even less baseball because you're still getting the 27 outs. It's just
At a
you're
quicker
getting
pace.
it quicker than you. Yeah, so I guess it's less like adjusting your batting gloves and stuff like that because it's the exact same baseball amount. But I love it. I think it's brought a lot of excitement, a lot of like more forced action to the game rather than standing around and doing a whole lot of nothing. So I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
It's been very successful.
I mean, being in Utah, I went to my first game of the year ever. Well, I mean, I went to the AAA affiliate Angels, went to a Bees game, but hard to go to major league games being no close team. But it was a good game. I mean, it went actually probably 2.5, almost 3 hours. So it was a little longer game for like what has the norm been this year, but only because it was actually a really good game. It was like 8-1 at one point, and then the Bees ended up coming back. They won 9-8. They literally hit like 3 or 4 home runs. I think they hit 4 home runs in the 8th inning. Like, they had a huge 8th inning to come back. Bottom of the 8th, obviously, because they're home, and then like got 3 quick outs in the 9th to win the game or whatever. So it was actually a really good game. It wasn't looking great at the beginning, but it was a high scoring game, and then they came back. And they're playing Las Vegas. So that was kind of dope. I was like,
the Aviators?
Yeah. So I was like,
dang, the 2 hometowns rivalry.
I know. There's big rivalry.
Shout out to a friend of the pod, Quest. He was also out the game as well.
What? Was he really? What a dog.
Yeah, you didn't see his Instagram?
No.
You see, friend of the pod.
Yeah, friend of the pod. But so yeah, just to fill in for a few things, Pete, for how it worked for me, we pretty much got hot dogs right away, and it was half off dollars and drinks. So got 2 dogs and then a drink, and then later I was feeling some pizza, and they had Little Caesars pizza, and I'm a sucker for Little Caesars pizza. Is their deep dish. Got that. So not my norm for baseball games. I'm a big nachos guy. So normally I'd get some nachos.
Pizza at a baseball game.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm down for pizza anytime in your life, but
I was just feeling pizza. I just needed it, but yeah. So I don't know. I think overall, watching a lot of baseball, I think it has been really exciting to see the change of pace, because especially in a longer game, even if it is a longer game, there's usually, the reason for that is because there's a lot more runs scored and there's a lot more excitement on the base paths. So even though it may be longer compared to the average game this year, you're getting more excitement. It's not longer because the pitcher's working really slow or the batters are stepping out all the time. It's exciting because there's more base runners, they're stealing bags, like whatever that may be. So it's more exciting things. But yeah, I think like the disengagements and stolen bases, there is, so just to give you guys numbers for the people, as teams or whatever, Pittsburgh has the most stolen bases this year with 50. The Guardians have 42, Athletics have 42, Orioles have 40, Tampa Bay has 40. Those are the top 5 teams. Last year, all of last year, and remember, we're a quarter of the way through the season, literally like 42 games roughly, so barely over a quarter. The Rangers were the top team with 128 stolen bases. If the Pirates continue on the same base, they will steal 200 bases this year, which is literally 72 more stolen bases. And to compare, the Pirates last year stole 89 stolen bases. So they're currently 39 stolen bases away from tying how many stolen bases they had last year. So it's just, that is a huge, I don't know the pace necessarily like that everyone's on, but obviously a lot higher. And for individuals, there's a player from Oakland. I honestly don't know his name, Ruiz, but he has 20 stolen bases. In Oakland,
Names like Estebar, Uriz, or what his name is.
yeah. He has 20 stolen bases.
Usually our pronunciation guy, Casey.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Your
I've never seen that name.
pronunciation.
Yeah, well, you guys can't say Volpe, right? Or
No.
Alcantara.
I can't remember how you usually
Okay.
say it, but we don't need to get into that. But the A's have 42 stolen bases, and this guy has 20 of them. And then Ronald Acuna Jr. has 17. Chisholm, and then Bay, I don't even know, but from Pittsburgh, they both have 14. So it's just crazy, like, to see so many stolen bases by some of these players already. So I think that's huge. Because stolen bases, I think, change the game so much. Because if you get a walk or a base hit, especially to a guy who's quick at the end of the game in a one-run game, and then that's just more excitement if they get on base because they're stealing the bag. They're probably already stealing the bag, but they're pretty much for sure stealing the bag now. And then that puts them in scoring position. So I think that's dope. I also think with the pitch clock and over the weekend when the Cardinals were playing Boston, Wilson Contreras straight up destroyed Kenley Jansen. Like, the Cardinals in the first two games of that series, they swept Boston, but in the first two games, they won in the ninth inning. Like, literally, they were down in the ninth inning and came back and won. Both times there's Kenley Jansen. And I think in the second game, which would have been on Saturday, Wilson Contreras was up. We were still losing at this point, but he stayed out of the box as long as possible. Like, he had 1 foot in the box, 1 foot out of the box for as long as possible, then stepped in last second. But what happened is he would still be outside of the box, and then Kenley Jansen would come set, which you're not allowed to come set until they're in the box and, like, looking or whatever. And that happened 3 times. Got a warning the first time, and then the second and third time, Wilson Contreras was given a ball, and on the second time is a full count, so he got walked off of that, which was just a huge thing. Obviously, put another runner on. There was already 1 or 2 runners on, so that just led to it, and that happened. Then, like, more of the Cardinals players started to do that a little bit more, and then we ended up coming back. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just surprised we don't see that more, especially at the end of games, in close games, because that, like, clearly, not that it's going to mess up every pitcher, but has an effect on the pitcher, especially pitchers that go slower and then they try to speed up and go quick because they want to give themselves time. The batter literally is giving them as little time as possible. But I don't know. Overall, I like everything. Go for it.
I definitely think that is because, like, now when they call pitch clock violations, because I feel like I see, one again. I don't know what actually, but it feels like one or so game where they call a ball or strike because the timing. But, like, it doesn't even seem to be a big deal to me anymore. Like, I'm just used to it at this point. But I think that's a good point. I don't know why teams, because even in, like, I haven't noticed in, like, ninth innings, pitchers or hitters trying to manipulate it more like that, getting the other people's head, which I think is a great thing to try to take advantage of. I do wonder if, like, let's say, you're the wild card team, like the Yankees are probably going to be, because the goddamn Tampa Bay Rays are unstoppable right now. Let's say it's bottom of the ninth and bases fully loaded, full count, and you get a pitch clock violation to either, strike out and end the game or walk off to advance in the playoffs, like.
Yeah.
And then I could see that becoming more of a storyline, because now it's, like, not even a storyline to me, but I could definitely see it coming back up if it does come up in a huge spot when someone's trying to manipulate like that. Because I've seen some times too where it's like the hitter's waiting to, like, because they technically have to be set and ready by, like, 8 seconds, right? So
the batter,
I think that leaves a little bit, yeah. But because I've seen where, like, at 9 seconds they, like, get in, but then them still says they're not ready because they're, like,
yeah.
So that could become a huge call, a huge storyline down the line in more, like, consequential games. Because let me tell you, if I lose a game in the playoffs because of that, I'm gonna be pissed as hell. but like it's also like I mean you knew about that, so
Yeah.
why risk it? But so I could wonder if that storyline will ever come back as like a big deal because now I think it's just been normalized. But
Yeah. Well, I
I
think
think that's a good point. I don't know why people aren't taking more advantage of trying to manipulate that, especially in the end close games like that. But
yeah. Well, because I think the batters have not. I don't want to say all the power. I was going to, but I don't think that's necessarily true. But I think the batters control so much more than they think. Like when they step in at 15, like if there's a runner on, you have 20 seconds. They're stepping in pretty much right away. The pitcher can sit and hold then for 15 seconds, pretty much all the way down to 1 or 2 seconds, because they just have to start their delivery. They don't even have to fully pitch. But if you're like I don't know, if a runner's on, you're pretty much going straight to the plate. But you don't have to start your delivery. And if the longer you're holding, that really never affects the pitcher. It's always the batter just longer and longer getting like uncomfortable. And so I think that plays into the pitcher's hands. But if the batter waits for as long as possible and only gives the pitcher 8, 9 seconds or whatever, then the pressure's more on them because they have less time to kind of sit there and like look at the runner if he's on or whatever. He has to be quicker to make his move, and then just that puts more pressure on him. So yeah, 100% agree. I don't know why they don't take more advantage of that, but I also think with that, if a game like playoff game, I think would be terrible, but at the same time, like you've played maybe not every single game, but there was 162 games played where that was in effect, not even counting spring training. And if it's like the batter wasn't in the box on time, like pay attention or call your timeout. Or then if it's a pitcher like coming set or whatever too early before the batter's in, like it would suck so bad. And I would probably say like if it was against the Cardinals, I hate these new rules. But at the same time, like it's on the batter, it's on the pitcher. You really can't be that upset except at that player because they know the rules. Even if they're new coming up from the minors, this rule was in the minors all last year as well, and then in the majors all this year. So like, there's no excuses, in my opinion.
just imagine, I can picture it right now. Rocktober, Chris Bryant at the plate versus the Birds, the Redbirds. Bottom of the ninth, full count, gets a ball called. Who's your closer right now?
Rotating, but call it Ryan Helsley.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought it was Helsley. I didn't know that you were rotating. But he gets a ball called on a pitch clock, walk off to start Rocktober. I can imagine right now if that's a storyline in the movie.
It is, yeah. Yeah, you must have read the script because it 100% is.
I would see in a case like that, I would be mad at Ryan Helsley because you know the situation, or like you know that will happen or whatever, or that you have to be ready and like I don't know all that. So like you can't even blame. Like obviously you're going to be upset if you lose in a situation like that, but I feel like it's 100% the player's fault, and that's the only thing that you can blame. Personally,
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think it would be a big story.
yeah, no,
And again, if it happened to my team, I'd be pissed. But it's just like if they struck out like normal.
Yeah,
within the rules at this point.
The biggest difference is you just don't get that chance to swing or to pitch or whatever it may be or whatever. But again, you had the chance, you just ran out of the time for it. But I don't know. Any other things that have stood out to you guys, or that you guys feel like has been a big storyline already in the game, like just with the new rules or situations?
Not sure over the rules, but it's more of a few pods ago, maybe in our last one. You came out as a Brewers fan, and it's just odd to me you're wearing
He did.
the Cardinals jersey, knowing you're a Brewers fan. I just think it's a little odd. It's like you don't see me wearing an A's jersey. You don't see me wearing a Rangers jersey or an Angels.
A's your main rival? Do you have a rival?
It's the A's fighting for the worst spot in the division.
Typically,
I
yeah.
didn't even think about that. Is the Mariners main rival?
I mean, right now it's probably the Astros because they like to talk all that shit, and then
everyone in the
crazy.
AL West.
They've only been in the AL since like 5 years, 6, 7 years ago now. That's crazy to me.
Everyone's rival in the AL West is the Astros because it's been the only good team in that division since they've been there. So
that's true. I mean, that's so wild. I never even considered that because I mean, me and Jared, our rivals have been 100+ year long, like
seriously, forever.
storied franchises. That's crazy. That
But
just blew my mind in this podcast.
no, Casey, to answer your question, I'm not a Brewers fan.
It wasn't necessarily a question. It was more of a statement that you
I'm
said you
answering
were
the
a Brewers
statement.
fan. We have it on tape. We have it on record.
It's not.
And it is. It's on there. So
Find
I don't know
find
why
it
you're
for me and let
denying
me
it.
know.
Okay, I will. Do you have any more thoughts about these rules? Shout out the captain, Aaron Judge. Fuck the Blue Jays. Any of those topics we want to get back into? Or?
No, I don't think so. I'm just again reiterating. I think it'll be interesting to see how those games go for the rest of the year, rest of this series, and then this. I'm honestly really curious to see how it'll go back in New York. Just to see how New York reacts to the Blue Jays. Not that they necessarily did anything, but just because being so petty. If anyone gets any booze or anything, but how that goes, and then just excited for the rest of the season and just the new rules. I'm a fan. So, Casey, Pete, what do you guys give me your closing thoughts?
They're singing, go Cubs, go, go Cubs, go.
Me and Teoscar are working things out right now. Go M's.
Happy to hear. Always support that, coming together. Speaking of not coming together, DFA Aaron Hicks, chase for 28. Shout out Aaron Judge. Keep doing it. Destroying the Blue Jays pitching.
Beautiful journey for 12 for the Cardinals. 12 and 23. Beautiful. I've gotten it right. I've locked that down.
Chris, I'm proud of you. Give him the claps.
There's been a couple times where I mix some things up the first time, but then I come around and I get it. But yeah, I don't know. I think this has been good. We're excited. This is episode 25? Sheesh, we're blowing through these. But this is the Broken Bat Podcast. We appreciate you guys listening. If you guys like what you hear, hit that follow button. Follow us on social media. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys next time on the Broken Bat Podcast.